Why, hello there, and welcome to another weekly episode of the Red Delta Project podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about how to adjust the amount of programming assistance so you know which type of workout programs are best for your needs and preferences. We're also going to be talking about how to use isometrics to greatly improve the safety and effectiveness of every workout you're going to do. And lastly, we're going to be talking a philosophical shift to make this whole diet and exercise thing a lot easier mentally, removing some roadblocks inside, like emotional roadblocks, mental roadblocks, as well as the all-encompassing paralysis by analysis. Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Red Delta Project podcast, your resource for helping you break free of the stressful, dogmatic diet and exercise rat race, helping you get in the best shape of your life on your own terms. My name is Matt Schifferly, founder of the Red Delta Project and author of the books Fitness Independence and Smart Bodyweight Training. So the first topic today is about adjusting the amount of what I like to call programming assistance. Program assistance is essentially when you're looking for help in knowing what sort of routines or programming you should do for your workouts, like with your calisthenics training. And there's various approaches that you can use with different levels of assistance. So basically, how do you know if there's more assistance is how detailed the program is in telling you what to do. Now, on one side of the scale, you have an approach with very little programming assistance, but it generally gives you guidelines or principles that you can apply in your own way. And this is the approach that I use in Smart Bodyweight Training, where I don't really have specific routines or programs laid out, but I say this is the general way that you want to organize and structure your workouts for various goals. The reason why I do this is because one's workouts and programming structure is very individual. There's a lot of things that you need to consider. Obviously, you need to consider one's goals, but also training history, injuries, aches, pains. Are there any preferences that someone likes? Do you like working with certain pieces of equipment, or do you want to stay away from certain things? These are all things that I ask folks when I work with them as a personal trainer. You also want to take into lifestyle things as well. Like, do you prefer working out in the morning? Do you prefer working out at night? How about time scale? Can you work out every day for an hour, or can you only squeeze in 20 minutes 2 or 3 times a week? There's a lot that go into making a workout work. It's much more than just having an optimal sets and reps, because a workout is something that needs to fit within a number of variables in your life. So I like the approach of giving you principles, like if you want to train for strength, train this way. If you want to train for burning fat, you train this way. And then you can take those principles and structure your own routines and programs around your own needs and preferences. And I find that works pretty well. However, it doesn't work great for everybody because some people like a lot more of this programming assistance. In other words, someone who says, yeah, but can't you give me like a routine? Can't you tell me what to do and how to do it? And for those, you want to go a little bit more on the other end of the scale where you're using routines and programs that are more laid out. And the opposite end of the spectrum is classically the one that I always think of is the Get Strong program by the Cavadlo brothers. Get Strong program, I really believe, is the best fully assisted calisthenics workout program routine. It's a book. You can check it out on Red Delta Project in the resources section. But it's so much assistance that it's literally laid out page by page, workout by workout of this is this workout, this is the day you do it, this is the exercise, this is the sets, this is the reps, this is the rest period. So it's literally just plug and play. You just follow along kind of deal. And some people, that works very well. Personally, I've always found these things to be very hit or miss. And I've always much preferred to do things my own way because I don't like to do things that don't align for my life and things. Recently, just to give you an example, I did a program that involved a lot of burpees, particularly towards the end of the workout program. And it drove me nuts. Not just that I don't like burpees because they're very hard or difficult to do, but I've always looked at the burpee like an exercise designed by a committee. It's very hard, it's challenging, and it does a lot of things, and that's what a lot of folks will say is burpees are great because you got to push up, you got a lot of mobility, you got strength, explosiveness, cardio, you get a lot of different things from the burpee. But from my perspective, for me at least, I look at the burpee like it's not really good at doing anything. It doesn't condition you for any specific activity. It doesn't make you strong at any particular thing. It doesn't help you really build that much muscle. It doesn't do a whole lot of things optimally. It just does a lot of things meh. So it is a very good grab bag of conditioning applications, but if you have a very specific engagement or endeavor, it may not be the best thing. Now, that's just me. You, on the other hand, may say, burpees are the greatest thing in the world. I want to do them all the time. They make me feel amazing. So this is another example of why something may be best for having a given amount of assistance. Because if you came to me one day and said, you feel like I do about burpees, I'd be like, okay, we don't do burpees. We'll do things other ways. But if you came to me and said, I love burpees, they're the best thing. They make me feel amazing for some strange reason. They make me think better, whatever the case, be like, okay, burpees it is then. So that gives us the flexibility to match things up. So that's why I'm not a big fan for me to do this lead by the hand. However, I do find that a lot of folks, when they're starting off in their workout programs, to have a little bit more of workout assistance, because if I just said, here, just design your own program, you're kind of like, yeah, but I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what I like or what works and what doesn't work for me. So in that case, something with more assistance, like the Get Strong program, could be a better way to go, because it gives you structure and it gives you something that leads you day by day and it tells you what to do. Now, in the middle between Smart Bodyweight Training and Get Strong, you have something like convict conditioning. And convict conditioning is a series of progressions and some general workout templates that you can use. And then you can modify and adjust those templates as you like. Also, don't forget though, if you have purchased Smart Bodyweight Training and you're looking for some more workout assistance, I also have the Smart Bodyweight Training Workbook, which is an ebook that I came out with, which has workout templates in it. So if you want some more workout assistance and programming assistance than is in the book, then you can download that. It's on the webpage, Red Delta Project. Also, there's a video on it on YouTube. Or if you simply send me a message and email reddeltaproject@gmail.com, I'd be happy to email that to you as well. But the point of this lesson is, don't feel like one or the other has to be done. Like if you feel confined and restricted by a very assisted program like Get Strong, be flexible and adjust it as you see fit. But at the same time, if having a very open-ended approach, like in Smart Bodyweight Training, leaves you feeling kind of lost and unsupported, then give Convict Conditioning or Get Strong program a shot and see if that gives you the structure that you need to really get your momentum going forward. Now, speaking of momentum and working out quality, the second topic for today is using isometric training to greatly improve the quality of your workouts. And isometrics has a long history, of course, and especially calisthenics fields of people holding exercises. You do this a lot in yoga, qigong, martial arts training. And sometimes I get questions about it, like how to use it and optimal ways to implement isometric training. The reason why I'm a big fan of isometric training for me personally and for the clients that I work with is because I find isometrics are a great way to maximize training, what I call the peak point of a dynamic exercise. And a peak point is a place in the repetition scheme where you have this one point in a repetition where everything is stressed to the max, or during the rep. So usually when we do an exercise, like let's say squats, for an example, when you're standing there, your legs and your joints and your balance and stability and strength aren't really tested very much. But as you squat down to the floor, the change in leverage around your joints and your ankles and knees and hips and the work on the muscles modifies and increases. When you're at the bottom of the squat, that's what I call your peak point, because everything's working and getting tested to the max. And then you come back up and you come away from the peak point. And the peak point is where you get a lot of your potential benefits. It's also where you have a lot of your potential risk with the exercise, because as the resistance increases and the stability decreases and you have a lot more challenge to hold that position, things can come out of alignment, muscles can get overloaded, your body position can shift in such a way that your joints get stressed. It can be one of the more perilous points in the exercise. So what you do is, often when we're doing dynamic work, is we kind of spend as little time in that peak point as possible. Like with squats, it's like we get down and up, and we squat down and we're up. And it's like almost like we're afraid to be in that position. We're not confident. We don't feel stable or strong and secure. So we get as little into that peak point in as little time as possible. So when you're using isometrics, what you do is you hold a peak point. You hold that position and you don't move out of it. Now, holding the position takes a lot of the movement out of it, so your mind and your nervous system doesn't get nearly as overloaded by thinking, all right, where am I moving and where's my weight position and how am I shifting around and how's my breathing and all these sorts of things. You just hold the position, and neurologically, it's a lot easier because you don't have as much information you have to process in your mind. However, because you're holding that position at the bottom of the squat, the bottom of a push-up, the top of a pull-up, these are all those peak points, then you're suddenly taking that tiny millisecond that you're spending at that peak point and you're amplifying it by 20, 30, 40 seconds or even a minute. So you're greatly increasing the amount of time you're working on your stability, your tension control, building up your strength, building up your muscle confidence at that peak point. Now you can use isometrics to build up that ability to hold and work within the peak point in a number of ways. You can use it as a warm-up. So you're holding a peak point for just a few seconds, 5, 10 seconds, maybe even 30 seconds, as much as possible. But you're not necessarily trying to work the muscles to a super high level of fatigue if you're warming up. Burning yourself out and putting too much energy into a warm-up is kind of like the equivalent of going to an all-you-can-eat buffet and just loading your plate up with the bread and the rolls that you find at the beginning of the buffet. And then you go down the rest of the buffet and you've got all the prime cuts of like meat and all the good stuff. And you're like, oh, but I got all this bread on my plate. It's the same thing when you just burn yourself out during your warm-up. So when you're warming up, just hold 1 or 2 sets to a light level of fatigue, get the blood flowing, get feeling good with the exercise, and then you go into your normal workout. If you're using isometrics for a work set, then use it as your program dictates. If you're trying to build muscle, push to a high level of fatigue. If you're trying to build strength, hold a peak point of an advanced exercise like a close pull-up, for example, or even an archer pull-up, or whatever exercise feels harder, has more resistance, then hold a peak point for your hardest exercise. And again, it depends on what type of programming you're going with, but generally if you're trying to build strength, hold the peak point for a shorter period of time with a lot of resistance. If you're trying to build muscle, you want more volume. And then lastly, you can use it as a finisher. Isometrics make great finishers because after you've done your dynamic exercise, like let's say pull-ups, for example, you can just hop up on that pull-up bar, hold your chest up to that bar, and just hold it as long as you possibly can. And then when you start to really feel like you're burned out, then come down, of course, under control. You always want to come out of your peak points under control. But isometrics are a fantastic way to improve everything about the quality of your workouts in these 3 formats, and I highly recommend making them part of your program and routine. And the third topic today is a philosophical perspective. I've touched on this very briefly before on the Red Delta Project podcast, but I really want to give it its just due today because it's made a hell of a difference for myself, but it helps also with getting past a lot of mental and emotional roadblocks that I find a lot of people face when it comes to getting into a good diet and workout program. And the biggest roadblock that I think comes up was we kind of psych ourselves out a little bit when it comes to taking action and getting into good habits. It's kind of like when back in Vermont, we used to go cliff jumping, where you come up to a rocky cliff and you look down at the water. And part of the secret to making yourself jump off a cliff, because you're coming off of a height that your brain tells you, don't do this, it's very dangerous, because if there wasn't water down there or any other surface you're jumping down to, you would seriously hurt yourself, may even kill yourself at that height. So if you come to the edge of the cliff and you stop and you really think about it, you'll psych yourself out and you'll never jump. So the best way to go with a cliff jump, especially the first time, is try not even think about it. You just go up to the cliff and jump, of course, making sure the pool is deep enough and things like that. But that's kind of what happens with a lot of people I find when it comes to, I want to start this diet, I want to start this workout program, I want to get in shape, is they think a lot about it. And they get to the edge where they're about to take action, but they feel kind of like they're jumping off a cliff a little bit. Like, this diet is going to be super difficult to cut out all these foods, right? Or this workout program is going to be such a big change in one's lifestyle and getting to the gym, and I'm not comfortable at the gym and pushing my body so hard, it's going to be hard. So it's kind of like going off those cliffs. If you think about it, we can psych ourselves out. And we can get all these excuses. Our mind conjures up all these ideas of like, you have no business doing this. Who do you think you can be to try and get in great shape? Who do you think you are, working out in the gym kind of thing? And there's a lot of tug of war going on between one's mind and emotions and body and what's feeling. Oftentimes, the way that we kind of put this off is by researching and trying to think like, I want to know for sure what I'm doing. I want to find the best diet. I want to find the best workout program, or the 100% foolproof way to build muscle or whatever. So we get stuck into this loop of endlessly researching and trying to find the best thing, or quote, what would work for you or me. Like, I'm not going to take action until I know for sure what I'm doing. So this leads to that whole paralysis by analysis, where we spend so much time getting ready and preparing that nothing happens. And it feels kind of like you're doing something, like you're doing work because you're reading blogs and you're reading books and you're consulting experts, but you don't take action on anything, so it really doesn't do anything. But it feels kind of like you're constantly getting ready. So how can we get around this sort of thing? Well, there's the whole Nike, just do it kind of thing. But here's the approach that I like, which is a lot more gentle and it feels a lot better, is to realize that this whole fitness thing, this whole diet and exercise thing, we're making this mountain out of a molehill 9 times out of 10. Now, I know that's easy when you look at someone who's like, good Lord, look at this big workout program. That's so extreme. Look at this diet. It's so extreme. So it feels like it's this monumental undertaking. But the reality is that fitness, I really do believe fitness should be a very subtle, gentle approach, especially for the beginner in many cases. It shouldn't be an extreme thing. It shouldn't be any big deal. It shouldn't be something that you have to rearrange your life around and suddenly take on this monumental thing. Good way to think about it is if you keep putting things off, like, I'll start the diet next week. I'll start this workout when things settle down at work and stuff. That tells me that you're making too much of this, because fitness is something that we need to be able to do all the time, no matter what. Like, even if you're not having the best of days at work, still taking some sort of action towards your health and wellness. And I know that might sound extreme, and here's why it's possible. It's helpful to remember that the processes for diet and exercise, for your health and fitness, are already happening. When you say, I'm going to start to get in shape with an exercise program, or I'm going to eat better or something, you're not doing anything in those cases that you haven't already been doing every single day for your entire life. You're already doing everything you need to do. You're already taking all these habits and you've been putting them in action for years. You don't have to start a darn thing because everything's already been happening anyway. The reason why I say this is because, look at a diet. What are you doing with a diet? You eat pretty much every day, right? You're already eating. You're already consuming food. A diet is no different. All you're doing is you're modifying what you're eating. And what about with exercise? Now, your body doesn't know what a workout is. Your body doesn't even know what exercise is. You're moving, right? You move somehow, some way. You climb flights of stairs. Presumably, if you can walk, you don't have an injury or something. You move your arms, you pull open a door, you push a couch against a wall. If you're rearranging, you're already using your body. So when you exercise, you're just using your body. You're using it maybe to a higher level of exertion in some way or a directed way, but you're not doing anything you haven't already been doing. So when it comes time to say, I want to exercise, I want to work out, all you got to do is just do what you've always been doing. Just modify it a little bit. Just adjust it to a degree that you're comfortable with. You don't need to go extreme. You don't have to go crazy. And I know people want results fast and everything, but you don't have to go crazy because your condition right now is governed by everything you do every single day. Every bite you take, every breath, every step, every time you reach up in the grocery store for something on a high shelf, that's training. Your body is getting instructions on how it needs to be, the condition it needs to be in, by every movement that you're taking. It's not like exercise is anything special. And that's the point I want to make, is the things you do to stay in shape are nothing special. They're nothing extreme, or they don't need to be extreme. And I want to bring it down in your mind and emotionally to a level that you're comfortable with. Be comfortable with what you're doing. And if you're taking on something that feels very uncomfortable, very extreme, maybe back it off a little bit. And it doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be the correct thing. If you're trying to improve your diet, you don't have to go so crazy with it that you're cutting out half of the things you like to eat. Just cut back. And I know that doesn't sound very sexy. I know it doesn't sound very promising because a lot of stuff these days, extreme sounds fun. It sounds like you're climbing up Mount Everest kind of thing. But the reality is, burning 100 calories, climbing up Mount Everest is the same thing as burning 100 calories taking the dog for a walk. It's no different. If you have a bunch of vegetables, it doesn't matter if it's on a cheeseburger or if it's in a side salad. If the vegetables are the same and the quantity is roughly the same, then it's going to be the same thing in your diet. So just simply modify what you're already doing, your food that you're eating now, your movement that you're doing right now. Add in some extra little things if you like. Add in a little snack of fruit, or have I'm going to do 10 push-ups before bed. That's great, because extreme is all in our head. This jumping off the cliff is all in our mind. This idea that we have to go to extremes and do this crazy thing to be in shape is just a figment of our imagination, because you don't have to do anything you're not already doing right now. You just take the movements you're doing right now, physical activity and food, and modify it to what you're comfortable with. And once you get comfortable with that modification, you can make another and another and another. And before too long, you're doing something that you used to think was extreme. And oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to be doing this. But because you constantly worked within your comfort zone, you were comfortable with what you did, and there was no stress to it. I know a lot of people are like, you got to be outside your comfort zone and stuff. And yes, that's true. There's a time and place. But the habits that you're going to make and keep for life have to be made within or on the very edges of what is currently now your comfort zone. Because discomfort causes stress. And as I've said before, stress is the number one thing that will sabotage your long-term progress. So hopefully that gave you some things to think about. Don't forget, check out my books on Amazon, Smart Bodyweight Training and Fitness Independence. Plus, I've got the new one coming out very soon, Calisthenics for Cycling, or Bodyweight Training for Cycling is the official title. It'll be coming out in the next few weeks. Very excited about this. If you're a cyclist, mountain biker, or just simply a commuter, this is a very quick, simple approach to bodyweight training that will optimize your health, safety, and performance on the bike. All right, folks, I will talk to you guys next week. Don't forget, subscribe, leave your reviews. It's very much appreciated. Till then, be fit, live free.